Title: The Night They Came for Me, based on real events. The Voices in the Dark. Subscribe if you've ever felt like someone was watching you through the dark. I live alone in a small countryside home, the kind that's too far from neighbors to hear a knock and too quiet to ignore one. It was a still night, no wind, no traffic. Just me, my phone, and the sound of crickets outside. That night, everything was normal. I'd taken the day off, stayed home, made dinner, scrolled YouTube until my eyes felt heavy. Around 9 p.m., I went to bed, the same bed I've slept in for 10 years without a single reason to feel unsafe. Then, somewhere between a video and a yawn, I heard it. At first, it sounded faint, like a low hum from the trees. But then I realized it wasn't the trees. It was voices. 2, maybe 3. Men. Talking quietly. Too quietly. I paused the video and listened harder. Their words were muffled, but the tone was unmistakable, cautious, hushed, like people who didn't want to be heard. My heart started to pound and I sat up slowly. No one ever comes near my property this late. There's no reason to. No sidewalks. No shortcuts. No lost hikers. Whoever they were, they chose to be there. I crept to the window barefoot, trying not to make the floorboards creak. As soon as I leaned toward the glass, the voices stopped. Completely. That silence, it's the kind that presses against your chest. I stood there staring into pitch black. My porch light cut maybe 10 feet into the night, and after that, nothing but darkness. But I could feel it. Watching me. I couldn't see them, but they could see me. A cold rush went through me as I backed away from the window. Every instinct told me to stay still, stay quiet. I thought maybe they just wandered too close, that they didn't realize someone lived here. But that didn't make sense. My house was lit. My car was parked in the driveway. They knew exactly where they were. Minutes passed. No sound. No movement. I finally worked up the nerve to peek again. Nothing. Just the still black outline of the trees. I went room to room, checking every window. Nothing. But the silence outside was heavier than before, like the air was waiting for something to happen. About half an hour later, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know if they were still out there. I turned on my porch light, unlocked the door, and stepped outside. The night air hit me, sharp and freezing. I looked left, right, across the field. Nothing. Just wind and the steady sound of crickets. But the longer I stood there, the more wrong it felt. It was like my body could sense something that my eyes couldn't. My heartbeat got louder. My breathing faster. Someone was near. That feeling, it wasn't fear. It was recognition. Like I was standing in the middle of a spotlight and the audience was staring back. I turned and went inside, slammed the deadbolt and double-locked it. The second the door clicked shut, the tension broke. I told myself I was imagining it, that maybe I'd read too many stories online. I got a glass of water, sat on the edge of the bed, let the quiet swallow me again. And eventually, against every instinct, I fell asleep. When I woke up again, it wasn't to silence. It was to a crash. A single, violent shatter from the hallway outside my room. I jumped out of bed, heart pounding, and flung open the door. Glass covered the floor, shards glittering under the faint light from the bathroom. Someone had thrown a rock straight through the back window. Before I could even react, the voices returned, but louder this time. Angry. Commanding. There were more of them now. Heavy footsteps pounded up to the porch. The front door shook under their weight, slam after slam. I could hear laughter between the shouts. My home, my safe, quiet home, sounded like a war zone. I ran back into the bedroom, locked the door, grabbed my phone, and called 911. The dispatcher said an officer was 5 minutes away. But when you hear your front door explode open, 5 minutes sounds like forever. They were inside. I could hear boots on the floorboards, voices echoing up the stairs. Some of them were laughing. Others were whispering. One of them called my name. I didn't wait. I opened the window and climbed out onto the roof. The shingles were cold and slick under my feet. Below me, I heard them break down my bedroom door. A man's voice shouted, "Where is he?" Another answered, "Check the hall. Check the roof." I stayed frozen on the rooftop, not daring to breathe. Minutes passed. The sound of breaking glass, slamming drawers, frustration, and then sirens. The moment they heard it, everything stopped. I watched from above as 4 figures sprinted out the front door and vanished into the dark fields. When the police finally got there, I was still shaking. They said I was lucky. Lucky they were close. Lucky I heard the voices. Lucky I didn't stay inside. But I didn't feel lucky. Because nothing was stolen. Every drawer was untouched. They didn't want money. They didn't want things. They wanted me. The Halloween stranger. Halloween night. That was supposed to be the one evening I could finally breathe again. A month had passed since the break-in. I'd installed cameras, new locks, motion lights, everything the police recommended. And yet, no matter how many alarms I added, I still woke up at every sound. The sheriff called the case a random rural incident. No arrests. No suspects. Just an open file and a warning to keep the doors locked. So when Halloween came, I tried to distract myself. I had plans, a small party with friends, but it fell through last minute. Everyone had somewhere else to be. That left me alone again. The night was quiet. Too quiet for Halloween. No trick-or-treaters made it out that far. I sat on the couch, blanket on, watching an old horror movie like some sick joke on myself. My curtains were drawn, always were now, but halfway through the movie I noticed something. A flicker. A shadow moving in the narrow slit between the curtains. I looked up, nothing. I went back to the movie. It happened again. And again. By the 5th time, I told myself it was just my imagination. Still, I got up, heart thumping, and yanked the curtains aside. Outside, under the streetlight, stood a man. He wasn't close. Maybe 20 yards away. He wore a dark Halloween costume. Something loose and nondescript like a cloak or a black hoodie. He was just walking in slow circles in the road. Drunk, I thought. Probably walking home from a party. I checked the clock. 1 a.m. He didn't look threatening, just unsteady. Still, I closed the curtains and went back to the couch. A few minutes passed. Then came a knock. One slow, deliberate knock on the front door. My heart sank. I froze, staring at the door. It had to be him. Maybe he needed help. Maybe he was lost. Or maybe not. He knocked again. This time harder. I crept toward the peephole. My pulse was in my throat. It was the same man. But something about him had changed. He wasn't swaying anymore. He was standing perfectly still, head tilted slightly down, eyes locked directly on the handle. I could see his chest rise and fall slowly. He wasn't drunk. He was waiting. For me. I backed away from the door, every instinct screaming to stay silent. After what felt like forever, he turned and walked away, vanishing into the dark. I didn't sleep that night. By morning, I convinced myself it was harmless. A strange Halloween encounter, nothing more. Days went by. Weeks. I started to forget. Until one night, it happened again. It was around midnight. I was on my couch scrolling on my phone, half asleep. Then, tap. A dull, rhythmic tapping against glass. Not the door. The window. The far end of the house. I stood up slowly, following the sound. The tapping grew clearer. I turned the corner into the family room and froze. A shadow stood outside the window, tall, broad shoulders, face completely hidden in the dark. He was holding something. And with every slow motion, he tapped it against the glass. What? Pause. What? Pause. Like he was letting me know. I know you're in there. I didn't move. I couldn't. Finally, I broke out of it and ran for my phone. My fingers fumbled across the screen as I dialed 911. The dispatcher picked up, and as I spoke, I could still hear the tapping in the background, steady, patient, like he didn't care that I was calling for help. When I came back to the hallway and peeked toward the window again, he stopped. Just stopped. Then he turned and walked away. By the time officers arrived, he was gone. They searched the property, nothing. No footprints. No tools. No broken glass. But there was something else. The camera on my front porch, the one facing the driveway, had been unplugged. It didn't malfunction. It had been physically disconnected. The police report called it vandalism. But the look on the officer's face said otherwise. When he left, he told me quietly, "If it happens again, don't answer. Don't even move." 2 weeks later, another call came into dispatch, a family just 2 streets away. They said a man in dark clothing was seen standing near their windows, tapping. The description matched mine exactly. Still no one was caught. No fingerprints, no evidence. I don't know who he was or what he wanted. But sometimes when I wake up at night, I think about the way he stood at my door. The way he watched the handle like he was learning it. And I wonder if he ever really left. Because sometimes, when I check my porch camera feed, there's a single frame of static. Just one frame. And behind the distortion, there's a shape. The photo from behind. After the Halloween incident, I started living like a ghost in my own home. Every night the lights stayed on. Every morning I checked every camera feed, every lock, every door. But fear, it has a way of fading when nothing happens. Weeks passed. The footage stayed clean. And for a while, I convinced myself I'd imagined the worst of it. Until one ordinary Tuesday night. I'd just gotten home from work around 9:30. Dinner was a bowl of cereal, eaten in silence, the sound of the spoon clinking echoing in the empty kitchen. Then I went straight to my room where my gaming setup waited, my one escape. I logged in to play with my friends. They were running late, so I started a match alone. The screen lit up the room, colors flashing across the walls, the familiar hum of my PC drowning out the loneliness. Then my phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. I ignored it. Probably spam. But it buzzed again. Same number. Then again a third time. I picked it up, expecting some friend using a new number. Hello. Silence. I could hear faint wind on the other end, a live line. Someone was there. Listening. I hung up. My pulse started to quicken. The room suddenly felt smaller, darker. I shook it off and went back to gaming. Minutes passed, then hours. By 2 a.m. my friends finally logged off. I took off my headset and stretched, and that's when it happened. My phone vibrated again. A text. From the same number. There was no message, only a photo. I opened it, and everything in me froze. It was a picture of me, sitting at my desk, taken from behind me. The glow of my monitor lit my back, the cereal bowl still beside me. It wasn't from earlier that day, it was now. The photo had been taken just minutes ago. I turned around so fast my chair hit the wall. No one was there. The only thing behind me was the window. For one horrifying second I imagined it. Someone standing outside in the dark, phone raised, watching through the glass. I rushed over and looked out. Nothing. Just the quiet yard. But the idea wouldn't leave my head. That window, it faced the backyard. No lights. No neighbors. Whoever took that picture, they were right there. I locked the window, closed the blinds, sat back down. I stared at the photo on my phone, zoomed in. At the bottom right corner of the image, a faint reflection, a figure, a shape, not holding a phone, holding something longer, a tripod. I saved the image and sent it to my friends, praying one of them would confess it was a prank. No one did. Their replies came instantly. Dude, call the cops. You need to leave the house. And that's when I saw it. A small orange light near the corner of my room. The camera light on my PC webcam. It was on. I hadn't turned it on. Someone had accessed it remotely. I yanked the USB cord out and grabbed my phone to call 911. But before I could press send, I heard it. The click of the front door latch. The door slowly creaked open. I froze. A slow footstep echoed down the hallway. Then another. Soft, deliberate. Then came the knock. 3 gentle knocks on my bedroom door. I could see the handle move, a quiet metallic rattle. My breath caught in my throat. He didn't speak, didn't demand, just stood there, listening. Then silence. I called the police, whispered my address, stayed on the line. 30 seconds later, I heard the creak of floorboards retreating. Then nothing. When officers arrived, the front door was open, but no one was inside. The locks weren't broken. The cameras, disconnected. They found no one. The phone number was a burner, untraceable. The photo metadata was wiped. The official report called it possible stalking or harassment. But it was more than that. He wasn't stealing. He wasn't vandalizing. He wasn't threatening. He was recording. And he wanted me to know. It's been 2 months since that night. I moved out of that house. Changed numbers. Got new accounts, new passwords, new everything. But even now, sometimes, when I'm gaming late, I'll see the faint glow of a webcam light flicker for half a second, then go dark again. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just my mind. But sometimes I wonder if he ever really stopped watching. Because whoever he was, he never took another picture. He didn't need to. He already knew where I lived.